Hello. Hello. How you guys all doing today? It's a Wednesday. Never going to say that again. Wednesday it is. So we're going to have a very special Wednesday stream. Some people might have noticed that I'm starting the just chatting category today, and that is to represent the strong amount of actual just chatting material that's going to occur on today's stream compared to most streams. So let me give you a little outline of today's stream today. That was redundant. First, we're going to be actually doing some Flight Simulator and the chatting session, but I'm going to be chatting about Twitch's newest update to their approach to sexual content and content classification labels. That was published as of December 13th, 2023, the year of our Lord 23. That's today. Published by Angela Hessian. Now, I'm going to start talking about that in a few minutes because I know there's maybe a couple people who want to trickle in and participate, maybe not. In fact, I'm gonna do one more thing. Live here. Gonna talk about it soon. But basically, we're going to combine that along with the Flight Simulator. Here's why. I only have a few days that I'm going to keep this brand new content, this new aircraft carrier. And while I'm doing that, I want to at least try a few things with the aircraft carrier. I'm going to uninstall it at least for a while so that I can take my good friend Mistress Mord on a E-date touring flight to Tokyo, Japan in the next couple of days. And to do that, I can't have it's just too heavyweight to have the aircraft carrier installed. So at least for a while, and maybe till I get a new computer, I will not have the the aircraft carrier installed. But we will have a continuation of the E-date from Monday in a future time, maybe this weekend, and we'll do that thing. But meanwhile, I've been playing with the actual carrier, and I figured out some things. I was able to get the propeller plane that I wasn't able to take off on yesterday. Figured out why I couldn't, and I could actually take off on that this morning. So that's interesting. But there's a different one that's carrier rated. That's the F4F. I tried that one, and it seemed to work once I kind of figured out for some reason the trim was set way out of range. And I didn't look at it before takeoff. I assumed it was at 0. And then when I looked at my playback from yesterday, I saw, oh, the trim is way out of range. No, you can't take off. It was like 100% positive or something, which means it was trying to put me into the drink with 100%, and which it did every time. And I was like, something's wrong with this plane. But it was just somehow the trim needed to be reset. Once I figured that out, looked at the VOD and figured out what was going on, I did that. So let me just get to this pretty quickly because I also do want to talk about this. So we're going to set this to the static carrier. That seems to work, but not the F4F. I believe I have another plane, which is a World War II era plane, the Curtiss P-40F Warhawk, and I believe this is also rated for carrier ops, but I could be wrong about that because it does say just Air Corps here. Well, we'll check it out. In which case, the F-14 is carrier rated that I currently installed. The F-18 is carrier rated. We tried that and it worked pretty well. But that's it for actual planes that I believe that are rated to take off on a carrier. Oh, and the Osprey, you can take off on anything. So, and I believe it mentioned in the notes for this new aircraft carrier that the Osprey V-22 is compatible. This boy here. But I'm not going to try that. I want to see if this one is. I think it's probably not now that I think about it. But we're going to try it anyway. And also, this is a good, experiment to see whether I can actually stream from the same PC, gaming PC, this content. So, if a few of you are starting to trickle in, come on in. We're going to talk about Twitch's brand new and quite bombshellish Updating our approach to sexual content and content classification labels. What do I have here? Hold on a second. Microsoft Flight Simulator. No. Updating by today's author, Angela Hessian. I'm not going to read all of it. It's quite a bit of stuff. You can find this on twitch.tv on their articles, hopefully. I'm not exactly sure when, but don't worry about it. It basically says they're making 2 changes effective today. Streamlining our policies regarding sexual content and updating the criteria used for homepage recommendations. And we're going to be breaking that shit down. So I can immediately see that at least I have the ability to look around. I'm going to check the free, I was doing this before. You can see all the little crews. I went all the way back here and it really started messing up. But that was on the moving carrier. There's these elevators. Can't tell, but one of the elevators is there. Got 2 planes on it. Okay, hold on. Updating the criteria used for home video. Streamlined sexual content policy. To be effective, policies need to be easy to understand so that a streamer knows what is allowed on the site and what is not allowed. Now that is already, you know, putting it frickin' mildly, you know, what the issue is, which is that it's real inconsistent. What's been going on. Hey, I'm talking about the new rules. Okay, this plane works better than that one. Okay, let's go to this one. We're just gonna fly around a bit because of, you know, and I want to read some of this stuff. Of course, I'm probably gonna stop flying. But while I still have this content with the carrier, I want to use it because I'm going to be uninstalling it. How's that? Good enough? Alright, yes. Good enough. Okay, they're going to do my safety check. Safety check. Yes, they found it safe. So he is going to give me the green. Once they moved that side, and I have the green. Okay, right. Checking my trim. My trim is at 0. You want to check everything. Okay. This throttle. Okay. What about the mixture full? Propellers, 100%. Flaps need to be here. Okay. So set flaps. Now we hit this green thing here, and give us full power. And then we'll be able to see. You can kind of see when he. About 3 seconds after he does that. 2, 3, boom. And off the deck we go. Meanwhile, we really gotta push to pull up because it doesn't give you a lot. But we're fine. So, to be effective policies, part of the confusion comes from the fact that there are 2 separate policies, community guidelines and the terms of service. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but basically, going forward, sexually suggestive content and sexually explicit in terms down the line. Sexually explicit will be considered into a single sexual content policy within the community guidelines. So in other words, taken out of terms of service. Yeah, just as of today. But we're going to get to the bombshell stuff pretty soon. You know, I'm just going to fly around on this plane and have a grand old time. So, you know, sue me. We're in the middle of the Pacific, really. Wait, which way is the land? To the east of us, right? Okay, there it is. Let's head that way. Blah, blah, blah. This policy specifies the types of sexual content that are prohibited on Twitch, and violating this policy will result in account enforcement, i.e. suspensions and bans. When consolidating these 2 policies, we removed portions of the sexually suggestive content policy that closely resembled language in the content classification guidelines. You got to read this. It's so legal. It's so lawyery. The guidelines explaining what content needed a sexual themes label were not distinct enough from the language in the sexually suggestive content policy to make them and made them difficult to follow. Okay, basically what they were saying is even we could not figure out what was what was breaking the rules and what wasn't breaking the damn rules. Not a single one. So they launched content classifications, which will be herefore referred to as CCLs, back in June, pretty recently, but they really haven't done anything with it. The idea of a content classification label is, for example, on my stream here, what it doesn't say is anything. But if it was sexy, you're supposed to put a little drop-down window thing that appears warning, and it says sexual themes or profanity or drug use or whatever you choose. There's 4 or 5 things that I can self-select. But previously they didn't really have much impact on anything either way. So this is the first time they've codified what those things really mean. Okay? They believe that accurate labeling is key to helping viewers get the experience they expect. And now that we can enable appropriate labeling of sexual content using CCLs, we believe that some of the restrictions in our former policies are not required. They're finally saying what Dan Clancy said, which is if you turn on the sexual themes label, it should prevent you from getting a suspension for sexual content, period. Unless you go way over the rules, and we'll go over that. Content recommendation for the homepage. I'm going to summarize this. What it means is that from now on, and this is a change, but as from now on, if you put the sexual themes content label, you self-apply it. Well, we'll get to that. Usually the assumption is you're going to self-apply it. If you put the sexual themes label on, you will not, your channel will not be shown on the home page under any of the recommendation shelves, they call it. So there's a bunch of little sections that you could potentially be shown in, and you won't be shown in any of them. And they say the reason that is because of the visual nature of what you're doing, and they don't want to be able to see that. And that's important because there's also a left side recommendation bar where I get a lot of my recommendations. And since that doesn't have a screenshot, your sexual themes can still show up on the left side recommendation channels. So it's really things when they talk about the homepage, and they don't make this clear. Now in the future, you will not show up in the homepage in the part where it could potentially have a screenshot of you, of your live channel, but you could still show up in anyone's in the actual left side recommendation feed if your channel that would normally be recommendation to that person. Let's keep going. So, making this change, streams with labels will still be included in category page recommendations so viewers can navigate to the appropriate category for this content. In other words, if you're in pools and hot tubs and you go to pools and hot tubs, obviously you'll still be in pools and hot tubs. And it's funny that they don't say that, but you have to figure that out. I swear to God. They could have just said, oh yeah, if you're in pools and hot tubs and you go to the pools and hot tubs category, it will show thumbnails of people who have sexual themes content label warning on. It's complicated, but it's so simple now. It's so much simpler now, isn't it? All right. Share your feedback. Fact. Here's the fact. The frequently asked questions. Fact stands for frequently asked questions. Nobody's asked them any questions yet, but they still have a fact. Okay, I love that. Some types of content that are prohibited will now be allowed on Twitch, if appropriately labeled. These changes include previously prohibited, but now allowed with label. Okay. This is where the brain starts to explode, folks. Is anybody who is here? Am I talking to myself? I don't care. Watch on the VOD. I don't give a shit. This is crazy, because this is where Twitch is about to become a completely different universe, if this holds. And remember, this was published today, and it wouldn't surprise me if this gets removed while I'm talking about it, okay? Maybe updated with certain things, because this gets pretty wild. This was prohibited. You couldn't do this on Twitch before. Tomorrow, you can do this on Twitch. Ready? Content that deliberately highlighted breasts, buttocks, or pelvic region, not prohibited anymore, even when fully clothed, but potentially when not fully clothed. Streamers found it difficult to determine what was prohibited and what was allowed, and was often evaluating whether or not a stream violated the portion of the policy. The policy was subjective. Yes. In addition, the former sexually suggestive content policy was out of line with industry standards. It resulted in female-presenting streamers, and I love the word female-presenting, being disproportionately penalized. And that whole sentence is such a gem. I want to stop. Yeah, you're here. Listen to the sides. Listen to the undertones. You studied Freud, right? The former sexually suggestive content policy was out of line with industry standards and resulted in female-presenting streamers being disproportionately penalized. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But I mean, God, do you have to use more 10-cent words in a single fucking sentence? Couldn't you say women were targeted? You know what I mean? Do you have to say female presenter streamer being... Oh, see, women might not include female presenting streamers. Yeah. You can't say women anymore, right? Okay. All right. That's not... Okay. Fictionalized, drawn, animated, or sculpture. This was prohibited before today and is allowed today. Fictionalized, fully exposed, female-presenting breasts and or genitals, or buttocks, regarding of gender. There's a thriving artist community on Twitch, and this policy was overly punitive and did not reflect the impact of the content. Now, what this means is, if you want to have a fully naked VTuber avatar, it was not allowed yesterday. It is allowed today, as long as you have the label. These are allowed with label, but the label doesn't do too much for you. Oh, by the way, the one thing they don't discuss about the label is what happens to ads, your advertising revenue. But I'll talk about that in a separate discussion shortly. Okay, so stick around for that interesting part. Here's some more stuff that was not allowed yesterday and is allowed today. Body writing on female presenting breasts and or buttocks, regardless of gender. The Twitch attire policy already allows body art on breasts and buttocks, so this change makes this... Yeah, fine, let me get rid of this. Yeah, I'm not arranged to care. This change makes this... makes these policies consistent. Fine. Erotic dance... This wasn't allowed yesterday, it's allowed today. Erotic dances that involve disrobing or disrobing gestures, such as stripteases. Yesterday, not allowed. Today, allowed. Stop! Stop! Stop it! Stop! Did you hear what I just fucking said? Is anybody out there? What the fuck is going on in this world? It just became Twitch After Dark. Did you hear what I just say? Did you hear? I'm going to read it again because I don't think you fuckers heard this. Yesterday, previously prohibited, but now allowed with sexually themed label. I'm going up. Erotic dances that involve disrobing or disrobing gestures such as stripteases. Allowed. This is not, first of all, this is hilarious because this is absolutely going to be misinterpreted as saying, go ahead, get buck naked or go down to like a G-string thong. No pool needed. No, just chatting. Just put the sexual themes label on. Make sure you have your sexual theme. By the way, they say at one point, I don't know if I can read this, if you fail to put your sexual themes on and you're breaking these rules and strip teasing, which you couldn't do yesterday, well, they'll apply the sexual themes tag to you involuntarily for a limited period of time. We'll get to that. Changes to popular dances. Do you remember how people said, oh, I can't twerk? You can't twerk on Twitch. Don't even fucking get close to a fucking twerk on Twitch. Well, read this and then weep for me, okay? Weep. Changes to popular dances. Popular dances such as twerking, grinding, and pole dancing. And pole dancing. And pole dancing. That is not a repeat. I'm just repeating that 3 times. It's not a glitch. It's just, and pole dancing are now allowed without a label. Previously, some dances were prohibited and others were allowed with a label. Enforcing on dances, regardless of context, meant our policy prohibited twerking at a wedding or taking a pole dancing exercise class, for example. the policy now takes context into consideration, like the president of Harvard takes context into consideration, and only prohibits streaming inside of an adult entertainment establishment. I have to roll around the floor again. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my fucking God! What's going on in this world? What a time to be alive! Sorry. I'm fine. That is quite a change. Dance whatever you want as long as you're not in an actual X-rated male dance establishment. Anything goes. Anything goes. I love it. I don't, except this is not going to go down well with the advertisers. Who gets that? With the updates to the sexual content policy, artistic depictions of nudity allowed. Content with focus on fictionalized, drawn, animated, or sculpted sexual body parts, regardless of gender, such as doing nude figure drawing, are allowed with the sexual themes labeled. However, fictionalized sexual acts or masturbation, masturbatation, all of those things, onanization, no sir, remain prohibited. Don't finger your junk, okay? Other than that, you're fine. Is body painting on the breast and buttocks allowed on Twitch? It always has been. Stupid question. Next question. By the way, none of these are real questions. How does Twitch handle nudity in gaming? Okay, I guess there's some, The Witcher has Yennefer Vingerberg, and she's got like her boobies hanging out in the tub, and it's fucking hot, frankly, okay? Yeah, you won't get dinged for that unless you... But there are games in which, like, I think like VR voice chat, which you can kind of grind up against each other. I'm just going to say, basically, look, just use common sense. If there's nudity and sexual violence or whatever in a game, but that's not the focus of the game and you don't focus on it, it's not going to result in a suspension. You have to abuse that policy. And that says, okay, if a mature rated game... Okay, here's a real nerdy question that nobody wants to ask. If a mature rated game, let me play my nerd voice. If a mature rated game includes violence, alcohol, gambling, or sexual themes, in addition to being a mature rated game, does that mean I also need to apply the relevant content and calculations in addition to the mature rated theme game? Because I'm a nerdy guy, I want to play Call of Duty, and maybe somebody's naked. Fuck that, we don't even give a shit. Well, streams labeled with CCL should no longer be recommendation in the left bar of the homepage under recommended. This is where they will not prevent streams from being recommended in the left bar, as the thumbnails are not shown in the section. I already mentioned that. Will labeling my streams as CCL also impact the visibility of future streams? Past streams, in other words, if I label one of my streams as CCL, and a future one is not CCL, in other words, sexual themes content label, blah, 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 nobody cares. What happens if I do not use a CCL? Our sexual theme CCL describes the content that needs to be labeled using the sexual themes label, and we discussed some of that. Stripping, pole dancing, getting down to your G-string, just don't finger yourself. That kind of content. Failure to use a CCL accurately will result in warnings, and the correct CCL will be applied by Twitch to the stream. If you fail to apply the correct CCL repeatedly, the CCL will be temporarily locked onto the stream, but it will not result in a suspension. So you won't even get suspension for CCL violations. So why would you put the CCL? And they'll put it for you on it. What a turn of events. No, this is literally the world has shattered and reformed itself into an entirely new world. I don't get how either this is like a April Fool's prank, or the floodgates, as I said, and the thing are about to open in a very extreme way. I don't know, one or the other. It's got to be one or the other. Let's stay on Catalina. It's going to be one or the other, but I don't know which. Oh, and that's the whole thing. But what they do not address is if you have the CCL on, remember I'm abbreviating CCL for the content label that indicates you are a sexy streamer with the sexual themes streamed on, which I can put on myself. It's on the Twitch website. It's safety.twitch.tv. It has an author, Angela Hessian. It's in purple, has a purple label. It is on the Twitch letterhead. It says updating our approach to sexual content and content classification labels and CCLs. It looks real. Now, here is the mind-blowing part, because I haven't told you the actual Parallax View mind-blowing part yet. Okay? Yesterday, I was all fed up because Mistress Mord got suspended, along with a bunch of other streamers who've been kind of doing the nude meta, where they pretend to be, they wear just a bandolier top, and then they only show themselves from that up, so it's just skin up, right? Maybe they're naked. It's the what we call the am I naked meta, which we've discussed endlessly. Where's my trim now? Trim, please. There's slow acting trim. I sent a strongly worded to Dan Clancy, DJ Clancy, the CEO of Twitch. And I said, look, this is getting crazy. My streamers I watch are getting banned right and left. They're also pushing the envelope in terms of, trying to be, more kind of outrageously sexy, which I'm down with. Okay, the thing I wanted to talk about was what they don't talk about in the memo is what happens to your advertising revenue if you put the CCL on versus the CCL off. Because presumably, advertisers have a say in whether they're going to be shown on CCL streams, and presumably most of them are going to say no. So your ad revenue is very likely to go down substantially per viewer if you turn your CCLs off. But based on what they're saying is now allowed in the CCL streams, you will get 100 times as many viewers to that stream because you're going to be pole dancing buck naked in a G-string. Exactly. I mean, you can either, wear your nun's outfit and not have your thing on, but that's not it. I mean, a lot of stuff you can have without the themes on. I don't know if I read that again, but there's some things that are allowed without the label now. I think the dance policy doesn't require you to label just because you dance, you twerked, for example. But the point is, if you're just chatting and you're dressed in a sexy outfit, that you don't need a sexual themes label, or you have a low cut dress, as long as it's somewhat and this also doesn't mention whether any of these changes apply to specifically to streamers who only stream or primarily in the pools category, in the hot tub category, where it specifies that you can wear a bikini, whereas in other content streams you're not supposed to. So I don't think they're changing that, but they're changing a much more radical thing, which is specifically what sexual stuff you can do on a stream, and what the ramifications of the actual ramifications of having that CCR label on your stream or not, right? So yes, I think you'll have some, but the whole reading of this where it says, oh yeah, guess what? Some stuff that was not allowed at all, they're gonna be out. And that stuff is primarily sexual stuff, and primarily, and they say, I think that, they kind of say it's primarily because it was extremely arbitrary, and it was affecting the female presenting streamers much more disproportionately than anyone else. Let me get those things come out. There we go. So that is today's wild news in Twitch. This just came out an hour ago, and I read this, and I was like, well, I got to talk about this on stream. So the huge update is pretty much everything's allowed. If you have the sexual label, if you have that content label on, if you don't, they will put it on for you. All this is new. If you have the sexual content label, you will no longer appear in the homepage if it has a, you know, if it has a thumbnail associated with it, which makes sense because you're going to be half naked if you're a female, or 2/3, 99% naked and oiled up, right? But you'll still appear in the recommended on the left sidebar, and you'll still appear in whatever whatever, if you're in pools and tubs, you'll still appear in that category that might allow things like that. I think that's what they say. And wow. It's just mind blowing because they say they just implemented this real recently. And Dan Clancy in October said, well, he said specifically something like, well, if you've got the sexual content themes on, you shouldn't be getting banned for sexual activity or being sexy or whatever he said. So there still are things you can't do, but it's a lot less. It's explicitly a lot less. Yes, exactly what. Now, now Dan Clancy is a cool guy. He likes to hang out with the young, cool streamers. He's I don't know if you guys are familiar. He streams a lot. He's a singer. He plays piano. He's definitely a better singer than I am, but he's not a better piano player than I am. But I'm just bragging there. I don't give a shit. But he specifically was at TwitchCon, was hanging out with some of the very attractive young, female streamers. Extra Emily hangs out a lot with, and I think Aurora got to say hi to him, and he totally knows who she was, and he knew who Danielle was. He got the Dan Dangler. They were like kind of hanging out and getting buddy up. So he likes the girls. The reason why they've been conservative up to now is because advertisers are obviously complaining that they don't want their products associated with strippers, with strip teasers, with twerkers, with girls with fake boobs, etc. In the hot tub, titillating the young boys, and I'm down with that. Advertisers shouldn't be forced to have their products next to that content, but that doesn't mean you should just suspend people doing that content. It just means you should not put advertisers out there. You get one of these 12,000 billion mile runways, you don't really have to worry too much about positioning. That's a little fast. Yeah, it's definitely a little fast. That's what happens when you're not too fast. You want to be a little slower. You bounce around a lot. Let's just smash into the terminal. We don't care. So, to decompress here, what we talked about today is that, in fact, yes, canopy. Get a little fresh air in here. Oops. I'll try. This is a cool plane to fly, but I don't think it has folding wings, so it wouldn't have been that appropriate for carrier use. Or wing tips, I don't think it has, yeah. Is that a light? Oh, that's a light that comes down. Interesting. I think, ooh, when you fold from the landing gear down, that light comes down. Oh, I like all those little details. It's a cool plane. Let's turn her off. But again, it's not about the conservativeness or thing. But first of all, yes, the CEO seems wants to be the cool dad. Okay. Fuel, color, mixture, cut. You got a CEO who wants to be the cool dad. Yeah, it's definitely running better. Where is that doing that? Where am I? But on the other side are people in the company who are he's under a lot of pressure to make money for the company, and advertisers are typically very conservative, not necessarily. I mean, not they're not necessarily conservative people, but they're conservative about where their product is going to be placed next to, and that's, you know, in general, that's completely reasonable. As I say, I have no problem with that. And so the advertisers are like, yeah, no, we can't have our products on on those channels. So as I say, the sexual themes will guarantee that you can do whatever you want, pretty much, except actually masturbate and have sex on screen. But you're not going to get advertiser money, but you could get subscriber money. You could get gifts. You could get donations. There's a lot of stuff you can get that isn't advertiser dollars, but it's going to be an obvious trade off, and they don't mention that at all in this document. So they are definitely doing. Now I'm going to end because I want to spend about 35-40 minutes doing my next rehearsal stream. Thank you for joining me for the chat, and I might talk a little bit more. Well, actually, here's the thing during the rehearsal stream, I'm going to have my mic turned off. And just because I'm going to recording this for the VOD, and here's why. These are this stream and the next stream. I'm going to have it on my VOD. Hello. And on my actual Christmas Eve and Christmas Day streams, which I want to go for like 4 hours, when I'm on a break, I will be playing back these VODs of me also playing the same tunes, you know. But in general, both on the Christmas stream and during this rehearsal stream, I'm going to have the microphone turned off. Now, I will be reading chat, and if, you know, I might be able to type in or something like that. But in general, I won't be interacting with people during the next Christmas rehearsal. So if you've got anything to say, you know, to ask me in chat reasonably before I actually start getting into the whole Christmas thing. Otherwise, I'm gonna start doing a switch over, and we'll switch to some music. Yeah, well, yeah, just also because there's there's a lot of key noise from that leaks in from a microphone. In addition to me talking or singing, making sounds I don't want in the recording. So this will be doing this. So I'm gonna switch over, and we will. That's the last you're gonna hear from me for a little while. But have a great day, and thanks for coming by. And this either this is a hoax, or we're about to see a major change in Twitch beginning today, or at least I think people are going to have to get this this information is going to have to be processed and gotten out there because it's such a massive change, if true. But yeah, those chickens who were previously doing the pretending to be naked on stream and not showing, they'll just be naked on stream. Thank you, son. I appreciate that, and I always appreciate talking to you too because we kind of, you know, we always kind of have something in common there. Okay, let me set this up. Thanks for coming. That segment might be part of a repeat of my, we'll see, parts of it at least. Bye.